Okay, so welcome, Venera, to our beautiful podcast here today. It is finally starting to feel a little bit like spring here in London. Not sure how it is over there in Boston where you are. Just briefly introducing you from how we met. So we only met last summer. We met in New York State where I very last minute spontaneously decided to jump on a flight and joined this amazing 5 day healing the motherline experience retreat journey along with lots of other women like yourself. So that's really how we met this summer, Venera. What brought you to that retreat?
Oh, well, thank you, first of all, for having me, Josie. All right, I'm really excited. Excited to share some time with you, see what happens here. Um, Actually, I wasn't even planning to go on that retreat, didn't know who Rebecca Campbell was. Just had a yoga friend say, "Hey, I'm going on this retreat. What do you think?" And at first I'm like, well, I didn't really want to travel this summer and I don't really have the money for this. And so I just kind of put it off and put it off. And then my friend was like, "Hey, Venera, are you coming on this or what?" And I was like, hmm, maybe there's a reason I should go to this. And so I did. And it was great. It was a really beneficial experience. I really enjoyed the energy that that Rebecca brought to the table. It was a really fantastic experience. So, and I got to let go of a lot of stuff, which was the best part of it. Um,
Wow. Absolutely amazing. And it's so cool to hear that you also kind of that opportunity that it also just like in my own life, it just kind of entered you like so fleetingly, like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Like a little whisper. And at first there were all the reasons for why you shouldn't go, right?
right.
And oh my God, I had the same. I will say almost 80%, maybe even 95% of the greatest healing I personally received was actually saying yes to the retreat. It wasn't even the retreat itself, and that's not, taking nothing away from that experience. That was amazing. It was actually allowing myself to truly following that call, even though rationally it made zero sense. Similar to you, I had a really fully packed calendar. I found out
Yeah.
about it a few days before. My whole being was like, go, go, go. And then my rational head was like, oh my God, no, I'm going to have to rearrange all these things. And then I, kept trying to negotiate in my head. So I was like, well, I'll have a look at flights, but they'll probably be too expensive because it's so last minute. And of course they were. And then my heart was like, yeah, but you've got savings. Like, if not now, then
Mhm.
when? Right?
Mhm.
And then I had like just because this is an interesting thing that we also share in common, that it wasn't like a 6 months pre-planned, really looking forward to this and that. And I also didn't know Rebecca Campbell very well.
Oh,
Like
that's funny.
it's and see, this is another synchronicity, right? That's obviously why you and I are having this
Right.
conversation today, like why you were like, yes, Josie, I'll come, I will speak and share the story, right? But it's this thing. So something within you and something within me went, get over here. Like for whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. Venera, can you share with us a little bit, and especially with me? So I know you're based in Boston at the moment.
I'm based in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. For some reason, I thought there was
I
okay.
am north of Boston. I probably just said that
Yeah,
that was where I was from because it's just easier to say that.
got you.
I was born in Boston, so,
Oh, okay.
but
So there's
I'm about an hour north of Boston.
amazing. And is that where you're from originally?
I'm originally from Boston area,
Okay. And
Hull, Mass.
and you have a gorgeous Italian surname. So what's that?
Well, my parents are both Italian immigrants, so they were both born in Sicily and came over to Hull, Massachusetts, actually to Boston. Um, and they lived there for till I was 3, and then they bought a restaurant on the water, and I grew up in a town called Hull, and my dad's dream was to have a restaurant, and so that's what they did for 21 years. They had an Italian restaurant. Um, and I'd say for them it was pretty successful to be two people, never went to school, came to a new country, and just had a go of it. And I feel like their life has been really good, even though they may not see it quite the same way, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
It does. I completely
Um,
understand. But what
yeah.
brave parents you have, and what a wonderful view of how you just disclosed us. That was amazing. And are you one of other siblings, or are you their one and only child?
We have I have a brother, younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, just the two of us. And it's interesting because some Italian families, I would say my family is very old school. So I had a lot of things that I needed to navigate as a child, growing up in an old school sort of family where um, boys were like gods. That's how
Oh.
boys were gods.
Oh my God, the Roman gods, yes, and the mama with the pasta in the kitchen. Ah,
So,
okay, wow.
yeah.
So was that, I mean, was that a bit even like with your brother as well? So was he very much worshipped and
I'd say it was challenging for me in terms of um, needing to make a place for myself, or needing to, my voice wasn't very loud and I needed to express myself in different ways. Whereas I think my brother, um, this is just my perspective. My
of course.
perspective is that my brother had an easier time because he was doted on. He got he got the support he needed. He
Mm,
was allowed to do the things he felt in his heart to do. Whereas I felt I always had to push. Like I
mm,
had to push to make things happen for myself, or
okay.
yeah, just very interesting growing up in that way, like where um more of a, I would say, patriarchal sort of family structure.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so very interesting.
Oh my God, like I know it's not a healing session, but I feel called to say let's take a breath together because my heart was like, oh wow, I hear you so much, and I can really feel that this whole feeling of like you said, you felt like you didn't have a voice and you kind of had to fight to not even be seen, but just exist, like to take up space, you know? Yeah. I could really resonate, and I also guess that there's also, you know, healing the mother line is quite a strong name for for a retreat. So I'm sure there's something in there that called you and called me as well to go to that summit that summer. That makes sense. So Venera, as a child, growing up like this, you mentioned needing to express yourself, right? So I have done zero background search because that's how I work. I have a feeling, I feel like you told me you're an artist. Is that right? Is that part of how you express yourself? Or even if we go back in earlier Venera life, how did you start to find ways? In which ways did you feel like you could start to create, shape your own identity, start to take up space, start to have a voice? What were some of the tools or the practices that you found through life? Anything you want to share with us?
Found through life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a kid, I was very rebellious. Um,
Mm.
I I often tried to do as many things as I could that were outside of my house as possible, to
Yes.
have a voice, or to just follow whatever my inklings were. You know, I was involved in sports, and um, I was involved in this program called the Civil Air Patrol, and I did a lot of camping, and I was part of a drill team that went in this color guard, and we went to like national, well, I guess they were more state competitions, not national competitions, where we competed against other kids that were in these drill teams and color guards. And we spent weekends, like every weekend for months, just training and practicing for these. And I also learned how to fly a Cessna airplane,
Oh
which
my
was really
God.
cool as a kid. So we got to do some flying, and I went on these like military like encampments where you got to fly in a Huey or shoot an M16 rifle or ride in a tank, or do grenade assault courses. Just very interesting, weird things as a child.
I love it.
Anyway, and then I guess at growing up, I was pretty involved. I think, and that happened when I was younger. I just kind of um, was very involved, and I tried, like, community and connection are the most important things to me, and just being open to people. So throughout my life, or just recently in the last 10 or 15 years, like yoga, mindfulness, hiking, being out in nature, those are things that really fill me up. But mostly just making random connections with people. So I love to travel, and when I'm traveling, I like to meet as many people as I can, and try to be open to as many people as I can. So it's sometimes it's nicer to travel on my own,
Mm.
because then I get to have free reign of how I interact with people. And I always find I end up on some exciting adventures that I didn't know were going to happen, because you just can't plan for those things, or who you're going to meet, or what they're going to show you, or where they'll bring you. And um, so I think those are the basic things that for me have enriched my life, are people and connection, yoga, mindfulness, and being out in nature and hiking, travel as well. But
100%, 100%. And I also think like what you just mentioned about this whole thing of traveling, especially by yourself. So I've done a lot of that. Also, just by the pure fact, I came to London, well, not just London, but a completely new country by myself at 16. So, you know, if ever there was a time to do stuff by yourself. No,
wow,
right. Well, yeah, that's another story about all the
pretty
time. But
exciting.
I just like for you, like, I trained as a classical ballerina, and that's why I actually came to London in the first place. So I came to study here, to further my dance training. But back to you in this whole thing of, you know, when you go out into the world by yourself, not just are you open-minded, but you have to be open-minded, right? You have to believe that, you know, the best is in everyone, you know, that there are good people out there, because not only are you going to be lonely, but also when you travel by yourself, you're going to find yourself in situations where you will need to ask for help. And that's one of the most wonderful things about having those experiences, right? Like I always feel, because so then, yeah, so I've lived here for 24 years here in London, and I was always traveling away from work. You know, I was always traveling away from London for work. And then I remember when I was in my mid 20s, all of a sudden I decided to go on a nearly 5 week break to Bali, again by myself. And I noticed I got really scared. I was like, oh, but you know, like this is 5 weeks. And I kept having to remind myself, Josie, you've done this your whole life. Like, you know, you came here at 16, you knew no one, you can do this. And, you know, but traveling over there, it wasn't just that I would be by myself, but that I had planned zero. I hadn't planned anything. And I wasn't worried about what would happen to me, but I was worried about what would happen in me. I don't know if that can resonate. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
right. I was like, well, if I don't have a plan, like at all, right? But just like what you were saying, since then, I've done many, many, many solo trips. And of course, this summer was another one where you and I met, right? And that thing of every single time, like just like you said, you end up having these incredible experiences. You end up meeting these amazing people, having these
Yes.
amazing heart to heart that you know you might never have again, and that's perfect. But also like it always, I come back to the same thing, which is, you know, the universe always provides you with exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and that most people are really, really good. That most people have the biggest hearts, and you know that it always instill in me again the belief of the good in humanity, like
There's always good in humanity.
right, like I think, and then, you know, so having, you know, having that as a driving force, and you know, similar to you, or you know, I'm a yoga teacher, I absolutely love yoga. I love nature. So just wanted to say we have those points of synchronicity as well between the two of us. I'm going to fast forward us into where you are now. So what do you spend your time doing when you're not out hiking and you're not in nature and you're not traveling, making new connections, and you're not doing yoga? How do you spend your time, Venera?
Well, can I just make a statement about what you just said? And
Please,
then I'll come
yes.
back to that.
Yes.
So when I was young, my parents, because they came to a new country, were always like, you can't trust people. People aren't, always there for you, blah, blah, blah. And I, as a kid, had this sense that they weren't right, that people were good. And I've always had really amazing things happen. Like people always help me out. I find myself in situations like, for instance, I was talking to someone about just feeling really blessed or grateful for little things that had happened in my life. And when I was younger, I went to school for furniture design sculpture and I wanted to make furniture on my own. And even though I didn't go to school for business, at one point I had this person who was he was an antique dealer, and he said to me, "Hey, if you finish these antiques for me, I will buy you a studio. I will pay the rent for a year, and I will give you work to do for that whole year. And then after that, you can decide if you can do this." And so I did that for him for a year. It was really amazing. I mean, this was like 25 years ago or something like that. And I struggled. I was young. I didn't have any mentors. But I met so many great people during that time. And just recently, I I left him a letter. I was traveling in Maine and I knew that's where he lived. And I left him a letter to just tell him how grateful I was for his generosity at that time. And those are the things that have shown me that people are really good. And if you give that, you put that out there, that comes back. If you're open, you have to be open to it, right? And um, so right now in my life, I guess I'm a woodworking teacher. I teach woodworking. I
Ah,
teach 3D solid modeling, although I just took a new job and I'm kind of it's hard. It's hard to restart somewhere. So I had a job of 18 years. Um, when I was young there, I just spent a whole bunch of time just building that program. And then I took this new job and I'm like, oh, I got to do this over again, except now I'm like 50 and it's harder. It's harder to I don't just to put in the energy, the time that it takes and you forget what it takes to build something and it's a lot of work and I'm excited about it and I really do love teaching. I love working with kids and I love helping them to feel like they can do anything. And I really um, use my teaching as a way to help kids grow inside. Not, it's like a metaphor for life versus this is what I'm teaching you. It's more about um, what are the life lessons in here. And I get to teach mindfulness every day, which I do with the kids every day. Um, I'm not really sure how that goes over, but I know it's very helpful for some of them. Like I've done these surveys and I ask and it's about 60% of the kids that say they enjoy it, they find some use to it. Um and then some of the kids are like, "Oh, this is boring. But I don't think they know what's happening yet."
of course.
um or they're I don't know, and for some of them, right, it's not always useful, right? They don't need it, they're feeling good. um but I think like to just take a break from always being on your phone or always going or just allowing your head to rest. So these are the things that I do now. Like, so I teach woodworking, I enjoy my tiny little house by the water, and enjoy going to the coffee shop, the local coffee shops, and making new friends. Um, and yeah, just
Uh,
being.
oh my God, Venera, it's like There's so much here. It's so beautiful. I'm just sitting here. I think I'm going to be sore from smiling after our chat today because I'm like, yes, yes, and more, yes.
I mean, it definitely resonated with you saying that part about being, that there are good people in the world. And I don't think a lot of people really are open or see that. Like I was at Niagara Falls one day, and this woman, like, she needed some sunscreen because she was like burning up. And I was like, hey, here's some sunscreen. I think you should put that on. Because it looks like you're getting some sunburn right now. And the guy behind me was like, wow, I guess I didn't realize like there actually are good people out there that just care about people, right? Because we're all connected in some way. Or we all want the same things in life. Even people that we think are, I don't know, that some people might think are evil or whatever, like there is some connection there, even though that might be a little deeper somewhere. Um, anyway,
No,
I did really
100%.
resonate with you saying that.
Darling, like 100%. And I resonate so much with that. So, so, so much. And also there's so much going on that we will never understand because we're not in their shoes, right? We don't live their life. And this is not, I'm not sitting here going, I'm not making it okay for people to, intentionally hurt someone else, but it's always that thing of like hurt people hurts people, right? So we will never understand what it's like to be that person where their whole family was taken away from them, or like whatever tragedy took place. And I completely agree that we all want the same thing. We all long for love, to give love, to receive love, and we all long to just find moments of happiness, right? And right, we all do, and it doesn't matter. Like I couldn't care less about what do you do for a living. I mean, what you do is very, very beautiful, but like what you do for a living, what your title is, anything like that. But I really, really care about the fact that beyond all of that, we share the same radiant human aliveness, human heart. And exactly like you said, it is in those moments, usually when you're by yourself, that you feel that connection to other people a bit more easily than when you're in a group. Because when you're in a group, not only do you have to overcome your own limited belief system, which is so ruled by fear, and then you also have to overcome the limiting belief systems of the group that you are participating in, right? And everyone is I'm not saying your friends, I'm sure they're lovely people and so am mine, but in the end of the day, right, we are group beings. So when you do go out there and you venture around, as much as it might be a challenging experience at times, honestly, without a doubt, every single time I just come back to the same thing, which is the universe always gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. And on the baseline, on the basics of everything, most people are really, really good people. So yes, I love that. I love that. And I have to just say, not only do I love that you work with wood, but because wood is one of my favorite elements. And I'm also in the Chinese horoscope, I'm a wooden ox. So wood is always a good one. It's nice, warming, grounding, healing, soothing, nourishing. I mean, I could go on about it, but, shift shaping according to weather. Right. It's amazing. But also the fact that you do your mindfulness practices with the kids. Absolutely amazing. Because also, Venera, I mean, I know you know this, but just for people listening, it's about creating a practice, because everything we do in life is a habit, right? It becomes a habit. We do it for long enough, it's a habit, it's a routine. And it's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's not really a matter of, do we want to brush our teeth? Is it boring brushing the teeth? Is it a super sunshiny experience? We brush our teeth. And so, right? And so the fact that you are showing, you are sharing something that works for not just yourself, but, for so many people all around the world, having a practice, just going like, hey kids, if you brush your teeth, you're going to have healthy teeth for the rest of your life. And it's kind of similar with the mindfulness practice, right? they might go on to find a different technique that works more for them when they're old or whatever, or they might completely forget about it, and then 30 years later they find themselves in a class somewhere and they're like, oh, actually this is a good thing, or some of them will use it daily without even fully knowing. So the fact that you have made it your intention that no, this is a really special thing. I'm just so excited about it, because I was working with schools over here in London for so long, trying to get not kids, because the kids were interested, but get their head mistresses and masters to get excited about teaching that as part of the curriculum, just as part of everyday. So the same way that you have a little sing song every morning before you start class, well, you have a little 5-10 minutes practice of mindfulness every day. Some schools are doing it. A lot of schools are still not doing it. So the fact that you are at the forefront of this is honestly so super, super, super exciting. And you're doing an incredible thing, which I know but I just want to say I've been on the other side also trying to get this, as part of a scheduled school system, and it hasn't happened in a lot of schools yet. So, well done you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I find it beneficial for everyone. For me and for the students, whether they realize it or not, it just makes class go better when they've had some time to regulate. They regulate, I get to regulate, and then we all have a nicer time together. So, and I do explain that to them. I ask them if they know what these things mean, and if they are aware of what's happening in their body and when they feel better or not as good, and how we're not taught those things. And so it's nice when you're taught those things younger, because then you can, I think, be a more effective individual, or at least be more aware of what's happening inside so you can take care of things. Um, we'll see. Who knows? See if anyone comes back in 20 years and lets me know if anything helped them.
I'm sure. Oh my God, Hattie, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. But I want to ask you about your own personal practice. So do you remember when, because I'm sure you came across meditation or mindfulness practices many times in your life, and I'm sure you tried it many times, but do you remember the time, or if there was a specific time where you thought, this is for me?
Well, I started meditating when I was probably 20. And I was attending a Buddhist center, and I learned a lot about ethics and just about how a philosophy, way of life of treating people and being in the world. And I felt like that really opened my heart. It also healed a lot of things from my childhood. I made a lot of really nice, special connections with people, and um, I just learned a lot about generosity or kindness or just being content. And then in 2009, a friend of mine wanted me to take this yoga program, and I just remember it was like pairing yoga with like kriyas or pranayama,
Mm-hmm.
and the practices just really moved my energy in a different way. Like they really helped me ease my anxieties, um, ease my depression. Just very, I felt more alive. So that was the first time, 2009, where I started a very steady daily practice of yoga and meditation, doing some yoga on my own, quietly, eyes closed, and then leading into a more sitting, breathing practice. And
Fantastic.
I really felt like it helped to elevate my mood and shift my energy in a way that the practices that I was doing before, which were like loving kindness and mindfulness of breathing, were awesome for opening my heart.
Mm.
These were awesome for just kind of settling my body. So, and I try to keep a consistent practice. Sometimes I fall off and have to get back on the horse, of getting up and journaling gratitudes every morning, and then doing some journaling. to just empty the stuff out, which I think is super important. And then with a little bit of yoga and a little bit of meditation each day before I get going is just a really nice way to just start and to live. I don't know, it feels like when I don't do it, life seems to just tumble out of control sometimes. So
Completely.
it gives me some nice space.
Amazing.
So yeah. And I have traveled around the world, and I did that for a year, and I took my practice with me around the world, and also made me realize, like as you were saying, lots of good people all throughout the world, and you can get stuck in your little box, um, thinking that this is it. This here is it, but it's not. Like, yeah, you get those blinders on, right? But this isn't it. Like, there's so much to the world, and you're right. The people out there, like you hear things in the news about, well, this person's this and that, but when you meet them in real life, you're like, oh, that's only those certain people, but these people are still really nice and lovely and warm and generous and kind. But I don't think you see that till you're like going out and checking things out. So,
Oh my God.
and I think that was one of the things. I was 40 when I did that, took time off, and my parents are like, "Don't you want to wait till you retire?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't think I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know how my body is going to be." I'm like, "This opportunity's here, and I'm going with it because it seems like the right time." And it was a really phenomenal opening experience for me. So, yeah.
Oh my God,
And
Venera.
Bali's awesome. I lived there for a month. Yes, it's awesome.
That
Awesome.
was so awesome. Tell me, oh my God, Venera, there's so much here. I just want to highlight for you, which I'm sure you already know, but some of the experiences you've shared with us today are these key kind of pivotal moments where people entered your life and or they might already have been in there, but at some point someone wonderful turns around to you and gives you like almost like an olive branch. I keep seeing these hands being extended to you, and but here's the thing: the keynote in this is that you accept it, because I believe that the universe is constantly giving us olive branches and constantly actually providing us with endless, infinite, wonderful opportunities. But so often we are so stuck, and this is, no reflection of anyone particular, me too. We get so caught up, right, in our own minds. And remember, the mind is very much ruled by the ego, which is always fear-based. So we're always like, I could do this, but oh no, and this and that, and oh no, right? And so the
Right.
fact that you numerous times in your life were in a space of surrendering into the opportunity, saying yes. You said yes to the antique, wonderful antique guy who ended up, giving you this incredible opportunity, because you could have said said no, like, and then another friend, do you want to go on this yoga thing? And you said yes. And then this summer when you and I met, another friend was like, hey, come along to this thing, right? And, like saying yes to life. I can't even tell you, like I had a wonderful client with me the other day, and all the love to this person, again, not highlighting anything, but almost this person was not in a space of saying yes. And also, again, no judgment. We are where we are supposed to be for as long as we're supposed to be there. So everything is unfolding at the perfect time, at the perfect place, all of it with grace. So hallelujah. But the fact that when I listen to you time and time and time again, you said yes. And I'm sure there's also, I'm sure there's also been lots of self-doubt and lots of heartache and lots of going into to dark and tight spaces where, right, where it felt so intense that it was like, well, we only other option is going down. So if there's if there's an olive branch, I'm gonna take it and climb out, right? Listen, I am the first one to say sometimes it has to get so bad that you're like, well, sorry, my language, what the fuck is the other option? What's the
Right.
alternative? So, okay, yes, we go there, right?
Let's
So,
try it out.
right? Like, so
Of
courage
course.
is born out of fear, but also sometimes out of deep grief or out of deep depression or anxiety or whatever it is. But still, I want to really just sit here and honor and highlight for you that numerous times in life, you've been saying yes,
It's the way to be,
right?
right? I mean, yeah, I mean, like where was I? I was telling someone about this. So I went to Fiji and I wanted to meet this wood carver and I was staying at this hostel there. And the person at the hostel told me to be careful about going to the rainforest because there had been like a convicted felon that had escaped and did some awful things to someone that he found on the trail. And so I was scared, right? I'm like, whatever. I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. So I did go to the rainforest anyway, and then I found myself at this nice like swimming hole where you just like swing off and jump into the swimming hole. And I did that a few times, and then there were a bunch of like younger girls like hanging out. They were probably in their 20s and below. All right. Like a series like from 4 years old up. And, I started chatting with them and um they were just so awesome. I'm like, hey, I'm like twice as old as you. When are you gonna jump off this swing? And they're like, oh no, I can't do that. And so anyway, I ended up leaving. I had a nice conversation and I was running out of the rainforest because the path that I took back was like there weren't any people on it. So I was a little scared from what that person had said. And I was like, so I was like watching everything. But then I got to this bus station and those girls came around with their car. And they were like, hey, you want a lift? And they gave me a lift. And then they brought me, I told them I was a woodworker, so they brought me to where they were going to school. One of them was going to college to be a marine biologist. And they toured me around the school. We went to this park. I mean, it was a really phenomenal day, right? So I went to this park being like, this rainforest being like, I better watch myself. But I was still open to those folks and they were really sweet. And I got to see some things I wouldn't have seen otherwise, which was really phenomenal.
Oh my God, I love that. So it's that whole thing of like trusting in the unknown. And just because it's unknown doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or it's worse than what you already know. And it might just exceed your expectations by a million times, right? And
I mean, and sometimes you do see those things that aren't very good, and you have to. I think when you're traveling, your intuition gets very heightened if you're
mm,
listening, so like this is okay, this is not okay. And you
mm,
know where to go if you're listening so you don't get in trouble
mm.
because that would be easy too sometimes.
Oh my God, 100%. Oh my God, Venera, I'm sitting here and the more we're talking, the more I'm feeling this deep need to do an episode with you again, but do a longer episode because I'm like, ooh, we've only started scratching the surface. But this is juicy. You are such a book of wonder, and we are literally, I feel like today is just kind of the introduction. So before we go any further, would you be willing and excited? Yay!
Okay.
To do a deep dive another time where we have where
That'd
I
be
personally
excellent.
would that work for you?
Yeah,
Because
we'll have to figure out the timing. I know it was interesting to figure out, but yes, we could do that.
that
That would
would
be
be
fun.
I would absolutely love that, Venera, because it's like now that that now that we've tuned in together, I'm sitting here going, "Oh my God, you have so many amazing travel stories. I have so many amazing travel stories, and weaving them in together, and really finding these inspirational, pivotal moments of overcoming all the the fear, the doubt." And then and then go doing it anyway, and everything that came from it, because my life, similar to you, I mean, I've been self-employed my entire life, and I've always kind of similar to you. So many people have helped me, like out of nowhere. These kind of angels, like these earth angels, just came into my life, and like, and similar to you, I said yes, right? But and hence why, like, and I'm also a teacher, and you are a teacher, right? So it's that thing, but also diving into the whole we can only teach people, we can only take places, we can only take people to the places we ourselves are willing to go and have been, you know. And but I feel like this is a lead up to a really juicy episode about how to feel the fear, feel the anxiety, embrace it all, and then go out in the world and jump, leap.
Anyway.
I would really love that. I have a few more minutes and then I actually have to run to teach, which I'm so sorry. But I do want to ask you, I promise you I was going to ask you. I'm going to ask you. I'm asking you right now. So before we continue our episode another day in another time, right here, right now, if you had just one message, perhaps to anyone out there feeling scared of the unknown, feeling scared of what route should I go down, or feeling scared of leaving behind that which they know, or you know, what would that be? Or just one message for humanity. It doesn't have to be fear-based. I just feel like you're such a light for courage and you know, you're such a light path maker. So that was my inspiration.
I guess the one thing I would say is that there's always something new to experience out there. So if you're afraid of jumping, it may be hard at first, but I think that the experiences that you'll receive on the other side will be equally fulfilling and open you in a way that maybe you weren't expecting. And I had someone once say to me, he's like, oh, every time like a job didn't work out or I lost a job, whatever came next was better. It was always better. And I try to remember that, like, okay, the next thing could be better and not worse. It could work out really wonderfully, right? Instead of thinking of how could this be detrimental, if you think about how could this be wonderful in the opposite of that. So yes.
100%. And you know what? Truer words were never spoken, because right now the future is uncertain, right? But we might as well hope for the best. You know, like in the end of it, because right now it's kind of a 50-50, could swing any way, right? But if we're sitting here and being scared about it or feeling doubt about it, then we are preempting something that may happen, may not happen, but we're causing ourselves so much suffering, right? So you know, like even just on a really rational level, and I like to blend the two, like just getting super rational. You're sitting on the tiptoe, on the edge, on the doorway, the bridge to opportunity, right? To the new, to the future. And we might as well send all that love ahead and just go, it's going to be wonderful. Everything is working out, best case scenario. And my own personal thing I always say is that everything in life is an upgrade. End of story. You might not see it right here, right now, but when I look back at my own life, it's always been an upgrade. It's always been a more refined, more defined, more graceful version of me that came out the other side. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Venera, it's been a pleasure. I'm so sorry that I have to actually say goodbye for now, but I will be so thrilled to welcome you back here soon again, if that works your end as well. It's been such an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been fun to just chat. You know, I didn't really get to chat with you during our retreat, so I just felt your energy float by. So it's very nice. Thank you for wanting to chat with me.
100%, 100%. So I'm going to close the recording, but I'll say goodbye to you on the other side.
Sounds good.
Perfect.